Good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and
Mm,
good evening to the office bearers, members of EPC. And I am extremely grateful for the EPC for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interact with you all today. Uh, your video was very much interesting. In fact, started interacting with Mr. K.T. Rajan sir and Mr. David in Madurai for organizing some export awareness sessions in Madurai for Madurai enterprises. But subsequently, after that, I think they thought of starting a group like this called EPC, and indeed mind-boggling that it has gone up to such a big level with so much of chapters and so much of clusters. I think what the government of India with all its export promotion council is doing in the entire country, I think EPC is doing for the state with so much, because we have product wise so many export promotion councils. Similarly, you have for every product you have export clusters. So very interesting to know you, sir, and interesting to know your growth also. And you are all voluntarily helping young budding entrepreneurs to come up. Thank you again for inviting me to this session. This is the first, I think, offline with you, online with you, because I had a couple of offline sessions with you in Madurai. This is the first online, and hope every one of you are safe and you're with your families due to this COVID-19 situation. And we do understand that it has, in fact, affected your businesses. And we also understand that the lockdown is being lifted, and the economy is jumping back to normalcy, and also your businesses to completely come back to the original form. We all know that it will take a little time, and shortly, maybe within a fortnight or so, things should be normal. Of course, September, I think we will all be normal, and we'll be able to learn to live with the virus. So now I think that your export promotion center participants 103, it has gone up. They are, I think, few are exporters, few are non-exporters, and few are engineering, and many are non-engineering, I believe. So I would like try to talk almost in a general way, focusing little bit on engineering sector. And I have a short presentation also made for you, so that to cover up whatever is required. So my talk will be, once again I will repeat, thinking that you are exporters and non-exporters. So I will be covering both, and uh, uh, and also engineering and non-engineering, which should be made applicable to you. So I will permit the organizer to share the screen, and I would request everyone to switch off their video mode, so that the bandwidth problem may not occur. Mm. Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Uh, yes. Now, let us say that we don't have as many exporters in our country. Kindly pardon me, I can't speak fluent Tamil and I have started understanding Tamil. So I will be, kindly permit me to speak in English. Uh, what I was saying is India doesn't have many exporters uh, as compared or in relation to its potential. We have about 500,000 MSMEs in this country functioning. And at least I can say in that about couple of lakhs are capable of manufacturing and exporting. But we don't see many exporters compared to other countries in the world. One basic reason what we have found is, which I tell wherever I go, that we have been blessed with a huge domestic market. People say treat export as an operation, as an option, and people think that export is a graduation to the next level. Whenever a person set up an enterprises, about 100 plus are here now, many more in this country. I don't think anybody would have thought of setting up of an enterprise for exports. They have their domestic market. They conduct a market study of the domestic market and they venture into business considering the domestic. Thanks to our huge domestic market, our entrepreneurs have that option to get into domestic market. But that is not the case for industries or enterprises that are there in different parts of the world. Their market itself is a small one. Their present, at any point of time, the present capacity of production is 5 times of their consumption. The new person who want to set up an enterprise cannot think of having a share of cake in the domestic market. Definitely, they have to get into exports to survive. That is how they all much smaller countries have become exporting countries. But we as an entrepreneur, as India, though we have potential, because of a huge domestic market without any problem, we are satisfied with our own market. And somebody who want have the flair of getting into exports, who want thinking of growing, and by chance, could be by chance, for some reason or the other, they have moved into exports. But and there are, apart from that, I have listed some of the reasons also why people don't get into exports. They think that to get into exports, they should have ready contacts with them. Somebody, you should give them the ready-made list of importers or their customers outside the country. Some people don't get into exports because they think that no, my product is not worth exporting. It is okay for demos domestic. The quality, the price is okay. Export means they should have some special features of some special quality. I think my product cannot get into there. Some people think, no, you need to have a CE marking. You need to have a TS certification. You need to have various ISO variants for my company and my products. And unless that is there, that is a basic requirement outside the world. I don't have time to get all those things. I'm happy with my domestic market. Fine, that's fine. Some people think the company size should be big. I'm a small manufacturer with 20 people working with a small turnover of 1 or 2 crores. Minimum 100 to 200 crores should be there. About 50, 60 people should be working with all types of machinery, equipment, capital assets. So maybe I'm not that export is not my cup of tea. I'm not eligible to become an export. Some people think it involves huge risk. Sending goods thousands of miles away. Getting my bills settled from a neighbor customer is difficult for me. How can you expect me to send goods all the way thousands of miles away and wait for him paying for my products, for my exports? No, that cannot be. And some people also think that too much of procedure, too much of documentation. You have to hire an extra clerk for that, move around different government offices. There is something called customs. There is something called DGFT. There is something called bank. There is something called RBI. You have to file this return, that return. No headache, Baba. Let us not think about it. With my experience, with my interacting with hundreds and thousands of people, all these things, whichever I told, are just myths. Nothing exists on whatever I said. Nothing exists on whatever people think. Anybody with any kind of product, with any size of the company, at any technology level, with any level of financial capability can get into the export market. Now, the domestic market is shrinking. Everybody in the world is coming and supplying to, they think India is a big market for them. They are eyeing Indian market. So for us to survive, few decades before, export was there to grow. Now export is there to required for survival. So everybody who are there in this group who are not at all exporting should start doing it. It is part of your regular business. In overseas, I have never come across a person having an export department. Only we have in India, there is a marketing department and there is an export department. In any company here you go. Department of International Sales. In overseas companies, you don't find. They only have marketing department, because their marketing is its exports. So they have only one department. So you also should have one department like market, which should take care of exports and domestic. At least start with 10%, 20%. Finally, what I would like to say, it should be 50-50 over a period of time. And nowadays, people who are exporting, not about COVID, pre-COVID, I can say, COVID is a temporary phenomena. It will go, it has come and it will go away. People who have higher percentage of exports in their annual turnover are comfortable than people doing business domestically. So basic requirements, many people would be knowing. No more procedure, no more problem. You need only two things. One is an import-export code, and there is a bank account. Only two things are required nowadays for doing exports. But there are some schemes of the government of India. If at all you want to avail those concessions and incentives, you may have to become a member of an export promotion council. There are some people who don't have any scheme and interested in taking any schemes. No. I have enough margin. Why to let some people who are lesser margin go for some schemes? They become member of EPC, but others EPCs. But others, there are many exporters who are not member of any export promotion council. So for you are welcome, or even without that, I could say that you can get into an export. Just how to start. There are people who have not started, or people who are looking for product. See, nobody in this world can think of giving you a product. There are a lot of people come to me. They come to me asking, gentlemen, I want to export. People, which is the best product that I can export? Which has export value? Somebody will come and ask me, I want the list of importers or customers with the products so that I will choose the product. Somebody will come to me, I have the making this product. This is I am doing well in the domestic market. I want you to tell me where, give me the product list of customers, overseas customers, so that I can export. Or at least tell me how can I go and export with this product, which are the country, where are the customers. I don't think with my limited or whatever I can say, exhaustive knowledge or whatever, nobody under the sun will be able to tell exactly, answer all these questions 100% right. For everything, there is a process involved. You have to have a product for that. And the next job, if you have a product, you should find an appropriate market for it. There is no single thumb rule for you to definitely somebody guiding. Could be a lot of consultants, management gurus who can guide you, but how far they will be successful, I have my own doubts. It is you as an entrepreneur, you yourself have to do some kind of an exercise to work out how to reach out to an overseas customer. There are certain tips this is not exhaustive, just an illustrative tip. First, we should know whether my product is at least being exported anywhere from India to any part of the world. There may be certain products which are not even taken by outside customers. We can get data based on the HS code. We can get data whether my product is being exported. So that means my product is used being somewhere. In which are the countries my product or similar product with similar applications are being imported? Which are those countries? Even that data is also available nowadays. Earlier, people never used to have those data. They have been successful in exporting. But for us, for your people now, a younger generation who want to get into exports now, everything is available on your desktop. Okay, if my product is ever exported and my product is getting exported to some countries, what is the technology level of my product? And what is the technology level of the product that is being imported there? I make some food processing machine or a simple motor or a pump in engineering. Where are these pumps? Whether it goes to Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Latin America. So here the technology level requirement is different. Whether my product goes to Europe, United States, Japan, Korea, there the technology level is different. So where it goes? So that means our technology level of the product has to be understood. Some countries have demand quality certifications, not all. Whether my product, if I am targeting a group of countries, depending on the statistics, the study which I make, then we need to understand the certifications required there in the country. What are the custom duties that is there in that country for my product? Because the customer has to pay the custom duty and get it released. What are the other non-tariff barriers that is required? Maybe the non-tariff barrier may be many things, maybe certain certifications, maybe certain packages, maybe certain other factors. And you should understand what are the benefits like MEIS, drawback rates I'm eligible for exporting to those countries. When you are exporting, you should be sure of getting money, but you don't know the customer. You have to take an insurance cover from ECGC. What is the rating of the country by ECGC? If you are exporting to a D-rated country, you should be careful about your money. If you are A-rated country, even it cannot assure you 100%, but you can be reasonable in thinking that your money could be safe. And based on this, you should come out with what should be the appropriate payment terms you have to enter into, whether it is advance payment or DP or document on acceptance or whatever, or through LC. Based on this, we need to prepare a matrix of countries where I can think of reaching out to these countries. So once you arrive at a decision that I can, based on this, my product is export worthy, I can export, then this is the normal procedure. Why I'm saying all this, I would like to further emphasize that there is no difference between a domestic sale and an export sale. The only difference is it goes beyond the shores of the goods will go beyond the shores and you will get money in foreign currency. That is the only difference. But over and above, you will get a lot of benefits. Government of India provides you thank you, and provide incentives for getting us a foreign exchange. So once, see, if you, even for your domestic, you go for a customer identification, then you go for a pro forma invoice, you go for a signing of contract, you plan a payment of terms. In domestic, payment of terms is different. In exports, we go by certain privileges for privileged payment of terms. Then you have to give a delivery. But here, there is one middleman that come into existence, that is a custom house agent. So once your company, your goods leave your warehouse, the custom house agent take possession of your goods and your documentation responsibility, and he will see that it is put on ship and sent to your customer. So this one addition is there in export tower, no? And here realization is coming. There also it comes through your bank. You will get a DD or a check. There from exports you will get wire transfer or NEFT transfer or whatever it is in foreign currency. But you will get in rupees only, unless you have a foreign currency account with your bank. See, now this is one which I would like to say before you get into any kind of desk study. You should understand ITC HS codes. For any exporter, you should understand these codes. Because we call any product in one name, but many countries, we may even call in English, may not be in our local language. Many countries in the world do not understand English. They may call that product in a different name. So for people to understand universally the product, identify the product, it is coded numerically. Every product is coded numerically. So that, for example, some I have given uh, one code 8458. See, 8458 is a lathe machine. So I call it as a lathe machine, but I don't know what they call in Romania, what they call in Colombia. But if I say 8458, they also understand it is a lathe machine. So all the products are grouped under 99 chapters. Engineering products come under 72 to 96 chapters. They are numerical, the nomenclature internationally accepted. So every product is identified in 6 or 8 digits, but in some countries, like they go still finer, they go in 8 or 10 digits. Just an example is given. 84 is the one chapter. Every chapter has a double digit. 72, 73 up to 96 is engineering. 1 to some names, 0, 1 to 20 could be for food. 20 to 40 maybe for food, animal products. So for some chapters for chemicals, some chapters for plastics, some chapters for wood. So this metal related all come under 72 to 96. So now 84 signifies all machinery. All machinery and equipment come under 84. Then you add 2 digits, 58. 8401 may be one machine, 8402 could be another machine, 8403 could be something else, but 8458 is a lathe machine. Okay, so from 84 machinery, we have come divided into lathe machine of 8458. Then, sorry, in that lathe, what is, if you again, there are different types of lathes. There could be horizontal lathe, there could be numerical control turning center, there could be CNC lathe, there could be turret lathe, there could be capstan lathe. So if you, for identification of again this lathe, they have again given another 2 digits. So 845819 is a horizontal lathe. Then in horizontal lathes, again they say manual lathe, power driven lathe, belt driven lathe, gear driven lathe, turret is there, automatic lathe, numerical controlled, CNC controlled, or now it is IoT controlled, artificial intelligence controlled. Now so many things are coming now. So now again, for that they will add 2 digits. So 845819191911 will become a lathe machine, which is a horizontal lathe, which is automatic, and which is numerically controlled lathe. So before you get into exports, everybody has to do this exercise, try to understand what is my HS code of my product. And this is available in all websites. Sometimes if you Google your product, this calculation the Google will do, but it may not be accurate. You have to again collaborate or with another supporting. You have to go to the website of DGFT or EPC or any other council. Okay, what Google has given, the code is correct or not. So now I was telling you we have to do some desk study before trying to get into the understand whether my product is being exported. You should understand the international trade about your product. Simply we cannot get into directly into exports. You should have some knowledge of international. So there is a website called Export Import Data Bank. It is in Department of Commerce. It is free for all of you. Anybody can access the data bank. So what here I have taken if you put a HS code of your product, it will tell you how much has been exported from India for the last 3 years. What is the growth? I have given the product called parts of pumps. So you can see 1819, what is the export? HS code is 841391. This is again 84. 84 is machinery, 13 could be pump, 91 is parts of pump. So that is how it comes out. It is showing for the 21 countries. There could be more also. I have taken only one slide, the top 21. What are your exports for 218-19? And what are your exports for 219-20 till February? What is the growth? If you go, it gives up to 6 digit only. It cannot give about to 8 digit, all statistics. It will be too much, about 50, 60,000 products. If you look into only engineering has about 60,000 products if you go into 8 digits. So 6 digits. Now we will be able to understand that my product is going to, these are all the countries. And what is the growth level? Any year, any country, any country, what is the growth? What is the level of exports? Whether it gives in value also, it gives in rupees also, it gives in dollars also. So you can get this information from our Indian website. Now, there is another website called intrasen.org. This is also free for us. This is given by the United Nations body, International Trade Center. This gives also 6 digits or 4 digits level figures. When you put, if you enter, it is also free for us. For Indians, it is free. For third world countries, they have made it free so that the trade grows. It gives the imports of various countries of that product. I have given 8459 is a machine tool. Okay. In that 8459 is a machine tool makers. I could have taken a 6 digit also. Earlier I took 6 digit. Now I have taken 4 digit. Is a more broader classification. How much United States buy? How much China buys from all over the world, how much India imports from all over the world, how much Italy imports, how much Russia, how much Austria, how much Malaysia. So all these countries, how much they import for the last 5-6 years. So we will get some knowledge about the, one is exports from India for a product, and what is the global level of trade happening for my product. You need not worry about other products. You put your HS code, then you start growing. From where? Now even United States. Another to here only in this website, suppose if you are targeting Germany for your product or targeting Vietnam for your product, you can, in this website, you can check how many, from where all Vietnam imports my product, from which are the countries. See if they are importing from Germany, Japan, maybe Switzerland, France, Italy, United States, then it gives us some indication that my product, it is difficult to be sold in Vietnam because maybe they are importing a higher technology product from these countries. This is how we should, it's one tool of judging. Exceptions are always there, and percent of our total engineering exports are high-end technology. About 70% are from low and medium-end technology. So based on this, we will understand, we'll be able to understand which country is importing from where all it is importing, and even exports also. If we put a 6-digit HS code and uh, from which are from, for example, Vietnam to exports to which are the countries. Why I'm saying Vietnam is like an India-like country. Vietnam, Thailand, to some extent Turkey, to some extent Central European countries, some extent Brazil, maybe Argentina, Colombia, maybe Indonesia. These are all India-like countries, we call them, so that we can easily match with them with our level of technology, our costing. Some are little higher, some are on par with us, some are little lower. So we have to look into all these based on the statistical analysis and think about exporting our product. First, come out with all the statistical analysis, you come out with an indication where all I can sell my item. Thereafter, then you have to reach out to them, to those customers. There are different ways of reaching out to the customers. There were people that earlier people used to travel all the way for meeting one or two customers, talk to our embassy first, put a trunk call and call the embassy person, send a telex message, fix up an appointment. They have to go to embassy. They will fix an appointment, stay for 15 days, spend money, meet two customers and come. Those days, competition was also not big. Meeting 5 customers, they would get order from 2 customers. Now situation is different. It has become a global world, has become a village, a global village we call, because of a lot of advancement in communication, internet, travel and all. Heavy competition. Meet 50 customers, you will get one click. So situation is changed, but we have to adapt to the situation. Earlier, there used to be some contacts without going there, some through somebody meeting somewhere through somebody, some connection or a friend or a relative used to get connections and orders. Through Chamber of Commerce, we used to get orders. So now the situation is different. There are now most of the export orders we are getting through exhibitions. All organizations, all export promotion bodies organize trade fairs, take you all to different trade fairs around the world. You have to target the country and you have to select the best trade fair for your product in those countries and look for whether any MSME department, EPC, NSIC, FIO, ITPO, anybody is going to that trade fair so that you run piggyback, because you will get a lot of concessions and at a subsidized price. Don't go for a trade fair because you are getting subsidized, you are able to participate. No, it should be your trade fair and you should be your country. Then only you go there, then you have to reach out. If it is nobody is giving you subsidy, there is nothing wrong. You spend your money and go. Definitely you will get a success. There are a lot of countries where there are no trade fairs. Many in Africa and all. Maybe Africa, Cambodia. Those countries, they don't have product specific or bigger trade fairs. So what we do, organizations like EP take delegations. We inform embassies, we send the list of our Indian companies, and we will tell them they will sell to these companies, these type of importers. So before we reach there, they will have some meetings fixed. Across the table, we will have meetings. Then the 1 or 5 people we meet and one person will click and send inquiry. Those things will happen. But the best method is exhibition. The second best method is delegation. So there are other organizations who can help. Indian missions abroad, every Indian consulate offices, embassies have the trade wing, that marketing wing there. They are going to help you. Foreign missions in India, there are a lot of international chambers here in India who can help. These are all these things. It requires a lot of persuasion. It depends on the person who is there, what interest he will take. You have to make around 5 calls, about 20 emails, keep on communicating. Finally, you will land up in 1 or 2 replies. But you have to keep on doing. There is nothing wrong. There is no one method or two methods to reach out to customers. There you have to have all kinds of approaches. So the latest one is through internet and digital marketing. Different ways, by creating a beautiful website is one way. Second thing, creating a beautiful brochure for your product. Then reaching out to the website of different trade bodies and trade association, getting their email IDs through LinkedIn, through social media, sending communication about your company, your profile, reaching out to the purchase wing of a company, trying to get the importers directly from the website. So all these internet is now also, because I have seen many companies in Chennai, Coimbatore, Bangalore, with this laptop, they are doing a lot of exports. I asked them funnily, where is your market? Who does your international marketing? They will just say this, they will show it at the desktop or a laptop and say, this will do my international marketing. They have generated some kind of expertise in identifying their customers through them. And for all of you, what I would suggest, you should hire one person, one qualified person. You need not go for an BE computer science. Anybody with graduation with 1 or 2 years computer training, give him training how to identify, take out HS code, how to create a brochure, electronic brochure, how to create an email, how to Google convert depending on the language, then how to identify, reach into the website of trade bodies in different parts of the world, a trade association of your product, get into the website of different communication, different companies, and identify the purchase manager email ID, how to source, get yourself linked through LinkedIn to the different personalities, MDs, director, my GM purchase of the company, send communication, send friendship requests. So all those things you need to work and try to develop the customer base. This is one of the methods. So there are a lot of agencies that are helping you, not for identifying customers, doing your work, but supporting. Nobody will give you ready-made thing, ready-made customer on a platter. That whatever I said, you have to do that exercise. Every product, every market has its own way of reaching out. If you can come to Chennai with all your details, you sit with me for 2 hours, I can to some extent guide you which are the countries suitable for you, which are the exhibitions, where all you should go, which are the website, where you can reach out, which are the associations, which are the chambers, what are the emails of the missions there, Indian missions there, which are the foreign missions in India, foreign trade bodies in India, so which can help you. This kind of, some kind of information, but it goes by product, I cannot generalize. So the related agency which are helping are DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade, which has its office in Madurai, Trichy, Coimbatore, Chennai. They will provide for import-export code. You have to reach out to them. Now it is all online. You go to their website, file an application, pay some 500, get a bank letter, and give your mobile number and upload for your PAN card, and you will generate an import-export code in 1 hour's time. Customs, yes, you have to. DGFT also gives us some incentives called MEIS, and it also gives some licenses, authorizations for import of raw materials. If you want to import any machinery without payment of customs duty, that is a scheme called EPCG. It gives you license for importing without without payment of duty or machinery. So DGFT does. Customs, these are all border control people for your goods. So they will be getting in touch with them. And mostly you will not be directly in touch with customs. Your CHA will be dealing with them. And if any delay in your drawback and all, then you may have to reach out to custom for clearing your case and all. Otherwise, it is not. And GST, of course, you are already in business. GST, you are aware of the GST. and export promotion councils, EPCs. I come from one EPC called engineering. Depending on your product, you should register with your EPC. EPC for two reasons: one for supporting you, guiding you for your export. Another is for taking incentives. The certificate what we give called RCMC is one of the mandatory documents for claiming various incentives. Then ECGC, as I was telling you, they will insure, you will give you a buyer's insurance. Suppose you are exporting, and if you are not sure of getting money from that buyer, you can go to ECGC, pay one nominal premium so that you are 90% of your buyer's payment you is assured. If he doesn't pay, ECGC will pay to an extent of 90%. So ITPO is another organization which is helping, guiding you for organizing trade fairs and all. RBI, you are not directly connected. You are connected to RBI through your bank. So for realization of your money, entering into the RBI website, all bank does. These are some of the agencies, but now no agency is regulatory. All agencies are supportive and promotive in nature. So just this is a very long topic, but within 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, I'm going to cover all this. Some incentives. Why export is more attractive than domestic is here. First is you will get a little higher margin than domestic. I have observed many people will definitely quote 10%, have been quoting 10 to 20% more for an export than to domestic. Apart from that, there is a merchandise export incentive scheme with DGFT gives. It gives 3 or 5% of your FOB value as a duty scrip, which can be sold in the market. And nobody will charge for any of your inputs. Any of your inputs also, the GST, what you have paid for your inputs is refunded to you. So for your materials you buy from the market, you have paid the GST, that GST will be given back to you. And for your exports also, export is treated as a zero rated sales. So no GST, IGST, GST is applicable for all zero rated states. And duty drawback. So some portion of the value of your export, customs give you as a drawback. For example, you buy a steel. You buy a steel from a trader. Trader might have imported steel from China. He might have paid customs duty for the imports. But your trader will apply GST only for the product. But in that cost, he has included the customs duty paid for imports from China, that steel. So government will have some calculation based on some information you all give on what are the inputs you use for your products. The committee, drawback committee, will come out with a drawback schedule. So up to 2%, 1.5%, 2.5%, 3% cash is credited to your account once you export from the customs department. So 3 to 5% MEIS, entire GST of 12 or 18%, whatever you paid for your imports, that is refunded, plus duty drawback of 2 to 2.5%. Already 10-20% margin extra, so 20% now you are getting, you are up by 30 to 40%. That is advantage of exports. And you need not worry about your money also. ECGC will cover your money. The person, when you are supplied to a person next door, you are not sure whether you are getting money or not. But when you are exporting 7 seas far, you are sure of getting money because of ECGC. You are also eligible to get exhibition stalls at concessional rate under MAI scheme of Government of India through export promotion councils. You are eligible to get airfare reimbursement whenever you participate in trade fair, again through export promotion councils. Inspection, suppose your overseas customer asks for some testing and inspection which costs lakhs of rupees. So Government of India will reimburse that inspection and testing charges through export promotion councils. You advertise in overseas magazines, newspaper, televisions, websites, you know, and you are paying dollars for advertisement. So if you give us your bills and advertisement material, we will give you about 50% back to you, that charges. And more than that, up to 5% of the interest you take for your pre-shipment or packing credit, interest will be paid for by the government. 3% for non-MSMEs, 5% for MSMEs. If a bank charges 10 or 11%, Government of India pays 5% for you and you have to pay only 5 or 6% to the bank. See, even that is also an added benefit for exports. There is one status holder scheme. If you have an average of 3-year average of some exports, DGFT give you a status holder certificate. For that, you have lot of privileges, like you need not give a bank guarantee for all your incentives, for your exports, license imports rather, under EPCG, under advance authorization. Otherwise, you have to give bank guarantee, and your documentation is also fast tracked, so that when you reach out to this. So apart from that, I have told you there is a scheme called advance authorization, wherein you can import your raw materials without payment of duty. So that again, instead of buying locally, you can import. One is for reducing the cost. Another reason, you don't have that kind of a raw material here, and only it is available abroad, and government doesn't want to add on to your cost by imposing duty on it. So there you can import without payment of duty. So that is advance authorization. Then suppose you want to have a machine, the machine is not available, so you can import without payment of machine, that is called EPC. So these are two important schemes for imports also. That is also covered. So coming back to my subject of engineering. So engineering is also doing very well in the engineering exports. We cover about 25% of the global exports. Last year it was 24.5, and the just year that passed by, the ratio remains the same, about 23-24, but the value has come down a little, 19-20, because of the situation, Corona. So these are the sectors which are come under engineering, and 21% is on iron and steel, 11% is on non-ferrous metal, 18% on industrial machinery, 10% on electrical machinery, 20% on auto and auto parts, 2% on aircraft parts, ships, boats, 7%, 11% on other machineries. So out of total 25% of our exports, global exports of 80 billion. So this is the share of different products. And we are exporting to all over the world. It is not that one country or two countries, but about 150 countries we export engineering products. So we conducted every 5 years we conduct some kind of a survey, some kind of a study. So whatever desk study I asked you for your product, similarly for a set of products, to guide our exporters, we conduct some kind of a study. So we have done some study, and last year only, and this I am going to share with EPC, and I request EPC to share my presentation to all, so that these slides, especially this statistical information, is useful for people who are exporting. So here it gives the product value of exports already being done to different countries, already being done, and new focus countries where we can focus, and the market available for us, potential available for us. So we have done this kind, for example, ferrous casting, steel forging, pumps, industrial fastener, electrical rotating machines, steel pipes and tubes, valves, auto components. So these are all, we have more products also. If you visit our website, you can access this study and try to understand ready-made. Some kind of an answer is given, but this is not the final thing. You will some kind of guidance is given for the HS course of 6 digits, but you have to go deep into your product of 6 or 8 digits and study separately for your product if you want to arrive at a particular decision or arrive at a group of potential countries. So just a slide on what all we do. We advise government for its policies and programs. We organize trade fair and exhibition. We do some kind of licensing activity with various departments. If you have a problem with customs, ECGC, GST, and all other things, we will help. We will disseminate all kinds of information through mail, or whether it is circular, notification, market study, some tenders, some inquiries. We associate with all global trade bodies. We have signed an MOU. If you are an EPC member, if you are visiting any country, we will issue a letter and a copy of an MOU signed there, so that you will go and show that MOU copy and letter from EPC, and those chamber of commerce and or association in that country will support you in your efforts in identifying your business partner over there. So we also issue RCMC, because this is a certificate which is required for getting the incentives. We also give awards for to encourage who are the good exporters. So what I was telling about the exhibitions, now a new thing is added to our kitty. We have now started webinars to educate people. We are conducting virtual B2B and virtual exhibitions. Because of the corona, 1 year travel is banned all over the world. People, because business should go, uh, and the entire world is open now. Europe, America, everybody is into business. So we are trying our members to reach out to their customers through virtual means. So these are all the important links. Free trade agreements. I think you all know that Government of India has signed agreements with certain countries, certain group of countries. So when you are exporting to those group of countries, you will be getting the benefit of lesser customs duty. So if Thailand is quoting to Germany, you are also going to quoting to not Germany. We are not entered with Germany. Thailand is quoting to Sri Lanka. You are also quoting to Sri Lanka. India has an agreement with Sri Lanka. So your cost will appear smaller, lesser than the Thai person's cost, because for importing product from Thailand, he may have to pay 10 or 15% customs duty. For importing from India, there may be 0 or 2 or 5% customs duty. So that is how agreements help. So DGFT will help you in IE code, MEIS, advanced authorization, EPCG, status holder, understanding ITC, HS codes, all those things. Their website is there. Then you have all these are for exim statistics, HS code, the statistics there. Drawback schedule. Customs website give you a drawback details. And the Indian Trade Portal is another website. It's very important. You have to, after this program, you just visit indiantradeportal.in. It is everything in one website. What is the MEIS available, what is the drawback available, and what is the custom duty concession available if you export to that country. I think my only advice after this session is get into this and spend some 15 minutes on this website. So for you all, I think something I should offer you at the close of my session, we are having a virtual exhibition coming August this month, 10 to 15th. So we are charging just 25,000 rupees for non-members, 20,000 for members. So you will be we are covering East Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. All we are inviting buyers from all over. It's an exhibition. You are participating virtually. Your stall will be there, your posters will be there, your product will be displayed, your video will be there. The visitor will come there. You can see your posters, you can click there, you can send an email, he can click and he can start chatting with you. He can see your video, he can download your brochure, everything virtually. So that is a wonderful opportunity now because we never thought of this. COVID-19 has made us think in those directions also. The first one is coming here. In the month of September, we are coming out with another another virtual exhibition called as Subcontracting in Europe and United Kingdom. So engineering exports, there are two worlds here. One is the developed world and the developing world. To the developed world, we are subcontract to the OEMs, auto parts, uh, sub-assemblies, castings, forgings, machine components, stampings, laser cut parts, fabrication parts. So these things we submit to, we export to OEMs or to the developed world. So to the developing world, like what I'm saying, East Africa, we are selling air conditioners, fans, motors, generators, food processing machinery, woodworking machinery, agro tools, agricultural machines, electrical transmission, switchboards, so transmission towers, heavy fabrications. So based on the market, we also do the exhibition. Export also happen like that only. So virtual exhibition in Africa is one set of product, and virtual exhibition in Europe is another set of products. Everything goes from India. Only we have to identify the market and export your products. So I request all of you to at least try with this. There are about 100 plus people here. I would like you to just explore just 20,000 for you all. You need to be a member of EEPC. For that, basically food, this event is for food, plastic, and engineering items. So anybody in these areas can come. But when you come to Europe, it is totally engineering. We are not allowing for food and plastics because engineering, a lot of things are sold in those developed markets. So I would request you to join as EEPC member. Till October, we are enrolling under COVID scheme. We are charging only 1,000 rupees towards membership. So it is there only for October. And once after October, we are going to charge 7,000 rupees to a member. So whoever wants to become member and who is an MSME, who has no export during the previous year, they are eligible to have this 1,000 rupees membership, and and you can pay 1,000 and pay 20,000 and participate in that exhibition. 20,000 is not a big money. At least you will start somewhere if you are part of this like of products. And if you are into subcontracting like machining, casting, forgings, then you can join another event which we are planning to have. So yes, I come to the conclusion, and thank you for the patient hearing. And this is my email ID, mobile number, direct landline number, and mobile and my address. So anytime you are welcome